All right, guys, I'm going to rip off my good buddy Jonny Lieberman's idea and do a little interior review and thoughts for you guys. I'm in the Lotus Evora GT that I currently have on loan from them for the next few days. And I figured I'd show you guys this interior in case you wanted to see what the deal was. So, as you can see, this is a relatively small cabin. I have quite a bit of headroom, so I think taller people will fit. I sit pretty close to the steering wheel myself. But this interior is very Spartan. It's cool in some ways, and it's just kind of Spartan in others. Well, I mean, like this shifter, for example, is awesome. I absolutely love this shifter. It's one of the best that I've felt. It's very sporty, feels very race car, right? Love that. Good handbrake here. Love having a physical handbrake. I actually think these controls are pretty intuitive. You know, that's the direction. That's the hot and cold, AC. Like, I've seen much more complicated and much less intuitive climate control systems in a car. So good job, Lotus. Really good job there. And it looks really cool. I haven't seen anything like this. This is the infotainment. And although it's very functional because it has CarPlay, thank God, it definitely looks like just an aftermarket Alpine unit, which is very well what it may be because Lotus doesn't really have the money to invest in, you know, a whole department for infotainment. But to be honest, that is not what this car is about, so I don't mind. And then back in the cool department, we've got all these buttons here. You know, this button panel just reminds me of like little fighter jets or something like that. But you got sport, which is what it's usually in. You got race, and these are carbon bucket seats, but we have a strange bit of refinement in these heated seats here, so that's very cool. You have the exhaust, and that I can show you in a second makes a drastic amount of difference. I've never seen so much difference in the valves being open and closed, right? These vents here are actually really cool, very easy to position. They've got this, I'm assuming, aluminum ring around them. They're nice and cold right now because I've been blowing cold air. Even the speakers look cool in here, right? And we've got a fair bit of Alcantara, as one might expect. The headliner seems to be Alcantara similar. It might not be entirely. And I think the seats themselves look very cool. They're actually pretty comfortable for being carbon buckets. Not all carbon buckets are created equal. To the not so beautiful part, I mean, these gauges are good and they're functional, but those screens on the side are very last or gen before last. You know, they give you some relevant information. I usually like to have my tire pressures up, especially if I'm driving hard. And you do have your speed read out digitally there, which I think is very handy. You know, if you just want to glance, make sure you're not doing anything too stupid, right? Now you have an engine start and stop button here, which is very common. It's on the left side. Kind of Porsche-like, I suppose. But the interesting thing is you actually have a physical key. A very strange one at that. This is probably one of the quirkiest things. Sorry to borrow from Doug for a second there, but this would be a quirk and feature for him. I guess when you lock the car, after a certain amount of time, it'll disconnect the battery, which is pretty cool, preserve battery life. But if the car's been sitting for a while, so you put the key in, right? And you might even see the red dot there for a second. If that's up, that means that the battery has been disconnected, hasn't been reconnected. And you actually have to unlock the key from here, and then you can start the car. Start the car, you turn this all the way, and then, you know, with the clutch in, you hit engine start. So from there, we can actually put the windows down for a second. And I'll rev this for you. So we're in just regular mode, right? Valves are closed. I mean, you can hear the supercharger a little, right? But not too much drama. We put this into sport, and now the valves are open, and it's just dramatically louder. And if you're in an enclosed area, like a garage, it's exponentially louder. And this is pretty handy, actually, because it means that if you have this crazy car, and here, let me just close the windows for a second. You have this crazy car, you could start up in the morning and you will never annoy your neighbors. It's quite quiet if you have it in regular mode. You even have some cruise control, which I wouldn't expect on this wheel. Because, again, this is sort of a Spartan design. In fact, it doesn't even have automatic lights. It'll have daytime running lights, or at night, you have to manually turn them on. and don't forget to turn them off. One little annoyance, that this is just me, maybe because I'm short, I can't actually get this mirror here to go as far left as I want. It's maxed out there. I just wish I could get a little bit more, but again, I can see what I need. Where I can't see what I need is the rear view mirror right here, because, well, the rear view mirror itself is fine, but as you can see, that is my rear view. Those are the slats, the Venetian blinds I was talking about earlier. Because of this carbon pack, right, there's just no visibility. You see an engine and you sort of see what's going on behind you. It can make this a bit of a difficult daily, especially at night, but it's actually a very easy car to drive. I find that manual sports cars tend to be very good dailies, just because you have a lot of torque. It's just very helpful for starting and stopping. I think they're easier to drive than some lesser power cars. So it's not really that makes it kind of a difficult daily. It's just the visibility, and, you know, the ride's a little harsh. It's not, you know, the carbon buckets. It's not exactly the most comfortable car to spend a ton of time in. But it is a very driver-focused car. When you look at the steering wheel, the shape and the size of the steering wheel is about perfect. And even like they have all the knurls on the steering wheel here, so that you have a perfect placement, so you could just steer with your fingertips, as one should, right? and I absolutely love it. You have your center marker here. What's interesting about the steering wheel is there is Alcantara on top and on the bottom here, but these sides here, where you should be gripping most of the time, are leather-ish. I'm gonna guess leather. It is still a nice car. It seems to be all sort of leather and Alcantara surfaces, and that's nice without gloves. I mean, Alcantara is one of those race car surfaces that's great, but if you do grip it a lot, you'll sort of mat it down. It gets very ugly very quickly. So it's kind of a smart design for people who want to just drive without gloves, which is what I assume most people will be doing with this car. But yeah, like this interior is very unique. I don't know if you can see the driving position, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. And you've got that little arch there over the left wheel, which helps you position your car very well. The car is actually quite narrow as well, which is nice, and it's got a short wheelbase. So I know the term go-kart like gets thrown out around a lot, but like I feel like it's very appropriate here. Other than that, I mean, I'd say it's fairly normal. We've got back seats that nobody can fit in. We've got a cup holder back here, and this has been in here as I've been driving relatively hard, so it works. We've got a little glove box here and the USB connector coming out there, so, you know, and we got a little plaque here, which I can't even see what it says. Probably says something cool, but there you go. That is the interior of the 2021 Lotus Evora GT. Thanks again to Lotus for letting me borrow this. I just had an absolutely phenomenal drive in the canyons today, and I'm really starting to fall for this thing. So more updates soon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.